Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm so sorry about yesterday. I had posted a video, continuation when I had asked the question. A very loyal listener had said, "Yeah, for sure, 100%." Post the second half of it. So that's what I did. And for some reason, the audio was all fudded up, fudged up, we'll just say. So I'm going to go ahead and repost that. This is perhaps absolutely just an interesting story because it gives you an inside look into war, into what these special ops team members go through, into their loyalty with one another, and not just to one another, but their country, into what they do for our freedom. It's just, it's amazing to hear what these guys go through. And it makes me even more proud that when I left the music industry, I worked at the Department of Veterans Affairs for vocational rehab, helping them adjust back into the civilian world. And it really helped me a lot too. Mind you, I'm not a vet, but working in the music industry isn't exactly every civilian, you know, job that's common. So working a regular 9 to 5 without having to travel here or there or do things what most people would consider fun. It was an adjustment, but to make that adjustment along with people who are suffering some very serious, documented disabilities was just, it was a pleasure to do that. And so, without further ado, this is going to be the continuation from Special Op member. His name is AJ Shipley. He was a part of SEAL Team 6. If this is your first time catching it, the way I describe it is this: he was not present when they shot and killed Osama bin Laden. What these SEAL teams do is there's a constant rotation of new men coming in, new men leaving. So you'll get a deployment of about 3 months, 4 months. That deployment will turn over. Those guys get to go back home for 3, 4 months, be with the family, do their on base duties, their jobs, things like that. And then it rotates again. And so he was not uh, he was not present when they finally captured and killed Osama bin Laden. But he was a part of SEAL Team 6, which now everybody knows. Not a lot of people knew back then, myself included. I had only caught word and wind of it at the VA, but SEAL Team 6 is the most prestigious team out of the. I believe there's SEAL Team 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9, I believe. And depending on how well you perform, you're placed in certain SEAL team groups. Um, I mean, you're constantly being graded on what you're doing. So he, overachiever, he's what you would call that 1%er that could do it all. Fast swimmer, strong swimmer, runner, you know, extremely accurate, breacher, you know, could handle a PKM, which is a machine gun. I mean, those are those 1%ers that could do everything good. I'm sure you guys may have heard of David Goggins, also a former Navy SEAL. Just one of those guys that can do it all. And so this is a continuation of his story and what they actually go through to maintain being a SEAL. In the same way, if any of you guys have ever played sports, been a part of sports like myself, I used to box. I played, football. And whenever you get hurt and they're like, "You okay? You okay?" You're always going to say yes because you want to play. You don't want to be sitting out. You want to be competitive. You want to be out there. Same thing goes with these guys in the military that, they could be totally fucked up and people will be like, hey, we want to hold you back for this deployment. No, man, I'm good. And they're clearly not. And that's where we see this bad trend of just the suicide rates going up. And that's something that I hope we could stop one day. But in the meantime, this is a phenomenal story. So sit back, relax, and I hope you guys enjoy. All right, guys, this comes from Sean Ryan, and it's the Sean Ryan Show. He has a pretty big podcast, and as you can see, in a very short amount of time, he's acquired 1.23 million subscribers. He also runs this Vigilance Elite. They make gummy bears that are legal in all 50 states. So, no, they're not edibles. And some other type of supplements, things along that nature, I guess. And they, I believe he hires directly veterans. He was also a Navy SEAL and a CIA contractor, and then he came out and started this company. And of course, with the explosion of his YouTube channel and his podcast and everything, now fully self-sufficient off of that. So very good interviewer. I mean, he's had some really big names from the military, really big interviews of people who have made national news. So this is a continuation from the first part that I did. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the story. I'm gonna hit that.
All right, so we're back. We're getting into some deployments, but I wanted to bring something up, reading through your timeline. You know, first deployment in the SEAL teams, you get in, biggest loss in SEAL team history happens. Then you get through Green Team, and right after you graduate, maybe less than a year afterwards.
Yeah, I mean August of 11.
Extortion 17 happens, which again is the biggest loss in SEAL team history. So let's start there.
Kind of the way we talk about it is, where were you? Where were you when 9/11 happened?
Yeah.
Where were you when June 28th happened? And where were you when August 6th happened? I know exactly where I was. I was sitting in a movie theater with my wife sitting next to me, my shooting buddy's wife, and then my shooting buddy. We're all watching a movie, and we're probably 45 minutes into it, and phone goes off, and you're glued to these things. Can't miss a text message. Like, I mean, the addiction to your phone becomes a real thing. Like, you can't miss a text message. You can't miss a phone call, ever. And his phone goes off and mine does too, and we both crack them. And we both looked at each other at the same time. And he had got a text from somebody in the White House, a staffer, used to be a team guy. And he said, "Call me right now." And I had the exact same thing, the exact same time, that said, "Call me right now," from a different guy. Okay. And he texts back, "What's up?" And he said, "Afghanistan, helo, and get to work." I looked right at my old lady, "Get up." Walked right out of that movie. They split and drove each other home, and I jumped in the car with him. We drove straight to work. And everybody was in there. Like, it was spreading fast. Nobody had any real details. I mean, we did, but it went into, it turned into a fucking circus. It was like I was reliving a movie that I'd already seen that I didn't want to know the ending of. I've been here before. Like, I already knew what this is. All the notifications, basically everybody's throwing on dress blues, they're driving out. Me and my wife are grabbing groceries and gallons of Starbucks and dropping off at Gold Star houses. Just really trying to take care of our own. It's one good thing about the Gold Star community is they know exactly what they need. So basically, notification team would go out, and then we would roll in behind and drop off gifts, groceries. We pick up kids from school. We do whatever we could, and that's the collective. That's everybody. It's just what you did, trying to make sense of what had actually happened. There's just no good way to. There's just no good way to go about that. I mean, that loss is felt this fucking moment. Like, that didn't happen. How did this happen again? And you couldn't explain why. I mean, things happen in war. Things that you wish didn't happen, you wish it wasn't a reality. It's absolutely reality. It's another reality check. Doesn't matter how good those dudes were. You couldn't have picked a better, there wasn't a more capable fighting force on the fucking earth than the dudes who were on that helicopter. And it didn't matter. It did not matter. Gone in an instant. It's like, fuck. Like, how are you going to come back from that? And then selfishly, how are we going to take care of all these families? Like, what do we do now? It's like every foundation just dumped in, trying to support, trying to do whatever they could to, I mean, inside of that, we're trying to rebuild. Like, we're still fighting the GWAT. Like, we can't let this be our defining moment. We just can't. We've been through this thing before. Unfortunately, the CO at the time had been through this exact same thing. He was a Group 2 Commodore when Red Wings happened. He had been through this whole fucking thing. So, put a plan in action. We had to rebuild the force, had to take care of all the families, take care of all the kids. Me and Patsy started making memorial t-shirts within 12 hours. Just trying to raise money, just trying to do anything. That's what a lot of people don't realize is there's a gap. Like, if you're pronounced dead, your paycheck stops. There's a long gap before any kind of life insurance comes in or any kind of support. So the only thing that puts food on the table, the only thing that puts gas in the car is their foundations. Like, people that are raising money. And we don't know how long that gap's gonna be. Like, now we've got big name foundations that really lend a helping hand, but it doesn't matter. To them, to that singular family, the whole world just came crashing down, it's over. Like, it'll never fucking be okay now. It's like anything you can do to try to lighten that burden, you try to. That's making a memorial t-shirt, that's, picking up the kids and having them make skateboards, whatever it might be. You have to do something. But I'll tell you what, that was a super dose of reality. Because doing a lot of shit in helos, and it's like, that's the reality. That is exactly what is going to happen. Like, there's nothing you can do for that. It doesn't matter. Like, you can't plan for that. You just can't. I mean, you can try to do things, but a helo gets shot down with all those people on board. There's no good scenario out of that. And it crippled us. We had to rebuild the force, and every team had to give up bodies. And that was the whole point of contention. Like, people wanting to rebuild, people not wanting to rebuild. I don't want to go, I want to go. Just, it was a circus there for a couple weeks. It was.
Do you want to describe a little bit more in detail how many lost, what happened?
Well, without getting many specifics, the weather was not in favor. It was a high illume night, and a force went out and got contacted and needed to launch a QRF, and they launched in that troop to be a QRF, and on final they got shot down. Everybody's in there, like, you've got an amazing force, you've got the world's best sitting in the back of this flying school bus. It lands down, they shoot it out of the sky. It's, you just can't plan for it. I mean, you just can't. It's 31 people gone, including some Afghan partner forces, but an entire troop of people.
Yeah.
It's just gone. And I mean, things that people don't think about, things that I know that haunt other individuals is, think about the guy who missed that deployment, had a shoulder surgery and wasn't there. Think about the guy who had to go home for a birth of his kid. You should have been there. Like, that's gonna weigh on that dude forever. And it is. I don't know, I just remember walking into the building, it being so fucking somber, just, you didn't know where to smile, like, you wanted to have fun at work, but you couldn't. Like, how dare you smile right now? It was one of those things, like, and it wasn't a forced thing, it's just, it's what it was. I mean, we were in the trenches for a long fucking time, man. We just were, and it felt like it was so hard to get back out of it. We tried to rebuild, and we've got the force, and they're back, and they dumped every dude. They pulled guys from all the other teams and tried to rebuild that one troop, and they grabbed some fucking all-stars, man. They did. Like, they spared no expense. They grabbed some serious fucking talent, and they rebuilt. And they built a dynasty. Like, they built some fucking badass dudes. And it was like one thing after another. So we get them all back up, and that's 2011. So I had Nick checking my team. We were in the same 5-man team, and he got pulled out to go over there to backfill. And all the guys got killed in extortion. And it didn't feel right. It didn't seem right. Him and my wife were really tight. We did our first platoons together. And when he went over, I rolled into his team as a new guy. And I fucking loved him, man. God, he was awesome. He just was. He was everything you wanted a teammate. He came over and retiled my entire kitchen, him and my wife, when I was on deployment, before his first deployment with command. Up until the last hour, he drove to the command covered in tile soot and put on fresh clothes and got on the plane.
Yeah.
Like, fucking great dude. And we just came back from Afghanistan deployment in between extortion. So we backfilled them, had to sleep in their beds, had to do that whole thing. That's a very sombering thing to have to do. I mean, it's the reality. Like, this is what it is. Sleep in a dead guy's bed. So, just another reality check, trying to get in there and hit a really good target set, and everything's great, and we're going to work. It's all steady in the back of your mind. It's like, any moment here, any moment this thing's gonna get us. And it almost did a couple times. The exact same thing. I mean, we took RPGs off the refueler, getting shot on infill, exfil. I mean, just close ones.
Yeah.
Testament to the pilot's capabilities, just how good they were. But right after that, that was a really good deployment. Like, that was probably my favorite deployment, because the people we were with, like that team. God, man, I did not deserve to be in that team. I fucking love that. If you could have locked me in a time capsule, I'd still be in there. I would have never came home. I loved it so much. I had separated myself from everything outside of that. And it was the only thing that made me feel normal, was being there. I loved it. I loved the banter. I loved the shit talking. I loved the pranks. I loved the professionalism. I loved the absolute obsession to the detail. I loved it. And to watch those guys work, it's hard to
So were you
describe.
intermixed with the team that took the loss?
Nope.
Or was this, okay,
This is after.
Alright.
We just rolled base in the same, kind of like you guys on June 28th.
all right,
You guys rolled in, same thing.
okay.
That's
So
same
you,
base.
you would relieve them?
Yeah.
All right.
It was weird, man. Just the whole thing was dicey, and we came back. Kind of like my mentor at that point, like my true north was my team leader then. His wife is best friends with Patsy. I'm best friends with him. He was the grooms in my wedding. I knew him before I screened and all that. I fucking loved him. And he got hurt. Got medically retired after that deployment. Our number 2 did. 3 or 4 other guys got fucked up pretty bad. And it just, I hate to say I had all my eggs in one basket, but I love being in that team so much. The energy, the collective. I was not ready to lose that. I wasn't. And when he was gonna medically retire, it fucking crushed me.
Is this, okay, never mind, keep going.
So it crushed me. It was like, that's who I want to be. This is a whole team. Like, if we can just freeze this shit, like, everybody will re-enlist. We'll just stay here. It was amazing. We came back from that deployment. We're kind of rebuilding. He's moving on. We've got new guys coming in. Everything's good. And Nick checked the blues.
Excuse me.
He deploys out. I'll never forget, man. I'm sitting with my wife at Yard House. I've got both my uncles. I come from a long military background. On my dad's side, I've got him. My grandfather was a fighter pilot, U.S. Airways pilot after that. My other uncle was 75th Ranger Regiment, jumped into Panama. and did 25 years in the Secret Service, counter sniper team. My other one was a Marine infantry guy. So I'm sitting across my two uncles. We're having an honest conversation, and my phone goes off. It's one of the guys from the team. Like, we're not doing anything. We're in Virginia Beach hanging out, and I grab it. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, "Walk outside real quick." And bebop outside. And his car's driving by. I'm like, plugging one ear. I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, "You sitting down?" "No." "Should I be?" And there's a long pause. Fuck, man. So there's a long pause, and he said, "Nick got shot." And I waited, and I said, "Okay, where is he, and when do we need to go pick him up?" He's even a longer pause. And I can feel it building up inside me. It feels like it's resting on my fucking sternum. It's about to come out of my fucking mouth, and I don't know what it is, but it's something. And in the shakiest fucking voice he could muster, he said, "He's gone." And I let out a whimper, I let out something. I started fucking bawling. I'll be at work in 15 minutes. I hung up the phone, I dried my eyes real quick, and I'm gonna walk in there, I'm gonna sit down at this fucking booth. I'm gonna eat my Kung Pao chicken, I'm gonna drink this Moscow Mule. I'm gonna get through dinner, and then I'm gonna drive to work, and I'll tell Patsy tomorrow. I mean, she loved Nick. She fucking loved him. And I sat down and I stared right in between my uncles. I picked a spot on the wall and I stared there. And they're all looking at me, I can feel it. And she put her hand on my shoulder, and I looked over at the corner of my eye, and she said, "Tell me." And I fucking lost it. No. Fuck, man.
Do you want to talk about what he was doing?
He was doing a hostage rescue for a doctor named Joseph in Afghanistan. Bad scenario. Obviously, Ed Byers got the Medal of Honor. There were a bunch of Navy crosses that came out of that op. But long story short, they patrolled up Nick's walking point, and one of the sentries came out, and they had a brief engagement. And he ran up to make a dynamic entry, super fast, like the gig's up, we have to go. So he closed the distance, and they had a bunch of blankets in the doorway. He's clearing the blankets, trying to get inside, and as he makes entry, he takes a round. Kind of over. The rest is history. Guys came in, killed all the bad guys, saved all the good guys. I talked to the guys that worked on him. The only positive out of the whole fucking thing is they got the hostage. That's why you sign. That's why you go there, is to do that mission only. And to know that you gave your last breath trying to save another human. That's exactly who he is. So it's an honor to know him. But fuck, man, I did not want him to go.
Was that your hardest loss?
Probably. I didn't even process it. I didn't. I stonewalled that shit. I fucking threw up a wall so fucking thick. I did. And about 5 days later, I ran all the swag, so all the t-shirts and the hats. I made the shadow boxes. I did the going away shit, and I had to go make his shadow box. And I had all his awards, had all his shit, all the patches, all the stuff we were gonna put inside his shadow box. And I walked into John Will's studio, so the guy that made all your deployment plaques. And I walked in, I got a really good relationship with him and all the ladies that work in there. And I walked in, and his number 2 lifted her head up from the office, walked out and saw me, and I was totally normal, just like this. And she went, "I am so sorry," and she said it. I haven't cried like that, probably ever. That was probably it. I dropped my fucking knees, man. I was dry heaving. He was such a good fucking dude. He was so talented. And he trained all the fucking time. And you couldn't have done better. And the reality, he was gone. I wasn't ready for it. I tried to wall it up, tried to pretend like it didn't happen. And then I tried to make excuses. Like, why did that happen to him? And then I had to justify it to Patsy. Why that's not going to happen to me. It's like, I better cut out more negative shit. I better cut out everything. I've got to completely obsess now. Like, this is what I have to do now. And it just justified it. Like, we're playing for fucking keeps, man. Like, became another thing that I'd slide in there. Like, you know, you want me to spend more time at home, you want me to do this, I have to obsess. This is fucking for real. If I have a bad day at the office, that's what happens.
Being that Patsy is a Gold Star wife and her previous husband, you know, died, killed in combat, were you able to lean on her a little bit more? Was she, like, could you relate
Oh, yeah.
to her a lot more than most guys could relate with their wives? And I mean...
Yeah, and especially because, you know, because I grew up in the teens. I grew up in it. I felt like I was as much part of that community as anything else. And yeah, we leaned heavy on each other. And a lot of it was, she convinced me it was okay. She's like, DJ, that dude loved everything he fucking did. He loved it. There's nothing else that dude would have done. If you would have given him an option of dying at 80 in a fucking bed alone, or dying on that, he would have picked that. It's just the dude he was. Like, he doesn't want you to be here depressed, mourning him all day. He wants you to go fucking get it on. That's what he wants. He wants you to go back to fucking work and be as good as you can. Fair enough. And the obsession continued. It's like, well, I wasn't in touch with myself. I didn't know anything about grief. I walled it up. I did. We stopped talking about it. We made shrines for him. We made memorial patches. We did everything. But I had to go do the notification and knock at his door for his fiance at the time. Dude, I don't know how people do that. But I can remember every detail of that. It was fucking terrible. We all met at my house at 7 a.m. Had me, Will Chesney, and one of the guys who was on Nick's new team, who's an ops chief. We all met at my house. Patsy was there. She kind of gave us a brief on kind of what to expect, because we've done notifications before for August 6th, but you never know. So, you know, we kind of powwowed it like, hey, who's ringing the doorbell? Who's saying this? We're all in dress blues. And it started pissing down rain, like torrential downpour. In our shoes, you know, we wear the black core frame dress shoes. It was so hot in Virginia Beach when extortion happened from sitting on the tarmac, it had melted all our shoes. It melted the heels off. So when we got out of the car and we took a step, all the heels blew off our core frames. And Nick Jack is a neat freak. He's OCD. He's got white fucking carpet. So I get out. I've got Patsy in the car behind us. She's got groceries. She's got Starbucks. She's got a bunch of shit. Just like, you're not leaving the house for 48 hours. Here, like, this will tide you over until we can figure out what we're gonna do. Because you're not a wife, it's kind of a weird, you know, predicament you're in. So it's really like we had to take care of her. Notification teams went out to the families and all that. But I remember ringing that doorbell and hearing her upstairs, directly above the front door. I remember hearing her walk down the stairs, turning the corner, and as it got closer and closer, the footsteps got louder and louder. And I was on fucking breath, old man. I did not want that door to open. I was hoping she wouldn't answer it. I was hoping we'd get turned around and somebody else would have to do that. And throw bolt flips. Doorknob opens, slowly starts to crack, and as soon as she fucking saw us, she knew. She didn't cry. She just looked at me, kind of cocked her head, and like, she knew me. Tell me. And I fucking came and I gave her a big hug and fucking bawling. And I told her. We had a very no bullshit conversation about what's going to happen over the next 72 hours. Kind of everything we need to get done. And we kind of just went from there. Like, you got to go buy a fucking dress. You got to go buy this. You got to go get this right now. Like, these are all the things that has to happen. And you've got about 12 hours because this thing's going to go and you're not going to have time. So whatever you need, let's get on it right now. I remember her making a comment on the black shoe marks. We track black shit all throughout his house. And she's like, God, you're lucky he's dead or he'd fucking kill you. We all started laughing, like, no doubt. Stanley Steamer over there, we're vacuuming the carpets and shit. We all drove up to DC together. That was the coolest thing. Drove there and picked him up. Same thing we did for the guys at Extortion. We all drove there in unison, met all the planes and did all that, and she drove up there with us. It was, oh fuck, man. Just, it's like one of those things you just wanted to be over, and you didn't, because now you have to do the memorial. Now you have to get up and speak. Now you have to go through all your photo albums and pick all the photos you like. You have to put it into a montage, and you have to watch it over and over and over. Now the family starts to fly, and you got to meet all of them. Like, it never ends. It felt like that process was 5 years long. Like, I was fucking crippled at the end of that one. I just was. I was in a fucking bad spot. Some key people in the organization were shifting out. They were retiring. They were getting medically retired. And I felt the void. I did. With him being gone, it really felt the void. That takes us to 2013. So I think that transition from Nick dying until basically the rest of the career, confirmation bias.
Mm.
Everything I had ever said, everything I had ever told Patsy was coming true. Everything. I used to tell her things because I'd obsess. I bet you in my entire time in the teams, I bet you I went into that building every day I've been in Virginia Beach, minus 25. Every Saturday and Sunday, I'd go through there just to show face, to make sure my cage was still there. Like, I had to touch the magic every fucking day to make sure it was real.
Yeah.
I had to. I was fucking obsessed. But it was good because everybody else with me was just obsessed. But I'd justify it to her. I'd start to separate myself from her, separate myself from different friends outside the organization. Just, it was a linear focus. This is it. This is the only thing that fucking matters. There's no distractions. And it reminded me of my childhood. The only thing that matters is the team. Like, Dad's got to go on deployment. You can't do this because of that. Like, you can't do this because it'll affect deployment. I can't get shoulder surgery because I need to go on deployment. I can't do this because of that. We can't take a vacation because of this. And I self-justified it. I was like, no one's going to die if I'm a 65% husband. No one. Like, I'll be a husband when I retire.
Would you change anything, looking back now, doing that?
Yes and no.
What would you change?
I would have retired sooner. They tried to retire me in 2014. I wish I would have let them. I was in such a fucking bad spot, man. I just, I let it take me. I let it take me. I don't regret it. Some days I do. But I thought it needed it. I thought it was a worthy cause, man. Everything we did. All the training, the late nights, the early mornings, it gave you a purpose. It did. It gave you the why. And it became very easy to just judge people. Like, you don't work out, you don't shoot, you don't care, you're not a professional, you don't want to do this. Like, get the fuck away from me. I'm going to surround myself with these dudes because they only give a shit. This is the only thing that matters. And it became addictive. It did, because you got to see the performance. You got to feel it. Like, I mean, it's a measurable thing. Like, I started here and I ended here, and I only did that because I didn't let anything else distract me. There's no skateboarding, there's no snowboard trips for me. I couldn't justify it. I couldn't justify breaking my wrist and missing deployment. I couldn't justify wakeboarding and blowing out an ACL. I couldn't justify it. I could justify the skydiving thing because it's part of work. I couldn't justify anything else. I couldn't justify drinking. Like, you fucking drink. 2 drinks in a single sitting? Like, I haven't been drunk since 2010.
Wow.
I don't do it. Like, can I safely operate a vehicle? Can I speak to the police? Can I discharge a firearm? Can I provide life-saving medical aid? If the answer is yes, then I'm good to go. If I'm shit-faced, I can't do any of those, that's a metric. If I can't articulate my speech to a police officer to get you out of a fucking jam, I've gone too far. I pull up on a car wreck on the side of the road. I gotta save him. Like, am I shit-faced and that's why I blow past him because I'm afraid I'll get a DUI? That's not an answer. That's not a professional answer. The answer is, I don't have to worry about that because I'm a professional, I'm not drunk. I'm professional. I don't need to put booze in my system. I don't need to be shit-faced at 2:30 in the morning. That doesn't make the group better.
Yeah.
The group before the individual became the standard, and fuck, man, it made life so much easier. Does what you're doing now make the group better? No. Then why are you doing it? True. Negative people in your life, static, whatever. Does that make you better?
What were you doing to cope then? Because a lot of people, you know, they cope with booze, they cope with drugs, they cope, you know, all kinds of ways to cope. You had to be coping somehow. So,
after I broke that hip, got on some painkillers. So long story short, I blew out that hip. I rushed rehab, I did. And the way they put those screws in, they lifted my IT band on the side of your leg and pumped in the screws, laid the IT band back. And we did that 2012 deployment. I had a pretty bad fall down the side of a mountain, and those screws came out, and they blew through my IT band.
My God.
Had to do another surgery, like it was bad. And the rehab that came after that. So I'm painkillers, and I needed to be on them. Had a bunch of surgeries that I needed to get, and I was held together with, you know, Rigorstatin, chewing gum. Like I was banged up, man. And started eating Tramadol and everything else, and it became the norm. Like, I wasn't high. I didn't want to feel the way I felt. Like, I'd wake up in the morning, it's like, I feel like this at 32, holy shit.
you're just numb to it.
Yeah. You just
How much Tramadol were you taking, you know?
A shit ton. I mean, I eat them at 300 milligrams a pop.
Not bad.
Oh, I eat a shit ton.
Several a day.
Oh, yeah. But it's like, I didn't realize what it was doing because it wasn't a narcotic. You couldn't be addicted to it. Bullshit.
Yeah.
You get addicted to not feeling pain. That's what you get addicted to. And I didn't realize it. But that continued from essentially 10 until when I retired. Like 18. Yeah.
I rode that train for a while, Tramadol, and I'm just curious. How did you know it was an issue? What happened? With me personally, I know it was an issue when I ran out, and I felt what that felt like without having any, and I felt what that felt like without having any, and that fucking hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Yeah. So I had just came back from a deployment. Been to a nasty firefight, a bad one. A lot of really close proximity shit. Ate a bunch of grenades. The long and short of it was, because of the proximity to it, we had to use some breaching charges and some ordnance, essentially on top of yourself, to get out of this certain situation. And it fucked us up, man. Like, no eye pro, no ear pro. I mean, grenades landing between me and you. Just a cumulative effect, these little concussions. It blew out both ears. Oh man, I mean, just by the end of it, I've blown out both ears. I've torn both labrums and both shoulders, both hip labrums, gone. Crunched a bunch of shit in my lower back and my neck. So I needed to have surgery on both shoulders and both hips and my back by the time the whole thing was done. And I didn't realize how bad it was Fuck, I don't know. Do we get into it? Do we talk about the...
Yeah,
Okay.
let's get into it.
Okay, fuck it. So the backside of this is we had a dude that did the Kenya Mall attack. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's that dude. So it's around the Horn of Africa, and we are going to go get this dude. It's a president-directed mission. So it's a big one. The biggest one that I've ever done for sure. Intel's painting a picture that's maybe not accurate. Beachside bungalow. Like, he goes there to watch TV, hang out, be super benign, in and out, cool. Not the fucking case. We get there, we've planned, we've rehearsed, and we've done all our shit. And I'm running the primary breach on the first floor. I go up and over the gate. I should probably start off with, we swam in, so that's a whole different set of problems. We swam in a slaughterhouse offshoot. So you can imagine all the great white sharks. It's a real fucking thing. That's the fastest I ever swam in my life. So we swam in, we do our whole thing. I go up and over, and I'm messing around with the locking mechanism on the gate to try to get it open. And there's a string going from the gate. It looks like it's going inside. And now I think that was an early warning device. I think it was hooked to a bell, it was hooked to something. We get the gate open, we bring everybody in, and as we are rolling up to the front door, they start getting contact on the roof. Guy comes out, shoots, skips off one of the guy's helmet, now the firefight ensues. And it's 3 stories, and it's getting fucking chaotic, dude. Like, they have been prepping for this for a long fucking time, and this is not a beachside bungalow. There's no doors. They're all walled up from the inside. There's nothing to attack, you can't see anything. It's like I'm trying to get the door open, but you don't know where the hinges are. You don't know what it is. It's this huge, super thick door. Fuck, man, it probably must have been 6 inches thick.
So it's a fucking fortress.
It's a fucking fortress, dude. It's a literal fortress. They start getting contact on the roof, and we sprint up the front door. And as we go to divide, this dude opens up on the front door and lets it go. And you just see splinters of wood, and it just fucking traces us and doesn't hit anybody. We roll to either side, and now we're trying to deal with this problem. The hate coming out of that front door was nothing like I've ever seen. It just continuous, ascending it. And the way it ended up being was a long wall, the door in the center. I'm on one side, and I've got my shooting buddy on the other side, and I've got my team leader behind me. And we're trying to figure this out. Like, we have to get inside, but we're not supposed to kill this dude. That was the whole thing, is for whatever reason, the powers that be really wanted this dude alive, and the last thing they told us before we went,
God damn it.
I would rather you shoot him 100 times and he lives than shoot him 1 time and he dies. Bring him back alive. Well, I'm fucking committed. We all are. We're gonna bring that dude back alive. We came up with every plan we could have. And at the end of the day, if you don't want to be captured, you're not capturing the dude. You're just not. Especially in that part of the world, with just how violent they are. You've seen Black Hawk Down. That's the most realistic war movie I've ever fucking watched. That's exactly how it is. They are fucking, and they come on quick. So we're in this shitstorm in the middle of the door, and I'm trying to decide how I'm going to blow this thing. I've got my charge in my hand. It's already capped in. I've got my hydrogel peeled. I'm ready to stick this thing, and I'm timing between his bursts coming through the door. So you see it all chew up. Like 3, 2, wham, goes live again. You're like, motherfucker, man. You're just timing it. He finally goes, and I slap this thing. And there's nowhere to roll. There's just nothing to do. You got to eat it. It's like, luckily for me, the guy behind me is super experienced. I mean, we all are very experienced breachers, and we knew we could take it. We'd been there before. Just unfortunate. Turn your head and exhale and send it. And that concussion blew out everybody's ears. We were all done. And when it blew, I could see the locking mechanism behind it. It looked like a fucking railroad tie was stuck down. So big New York lock, and we weren't getting through it. But it blew out a slat about waist high down, about this wide. And grenades started coming out of it. Accurate. So the way it was, it's the front door and there's a long ass hallway going down, and there's a dude who's in a sandbag position with a belt fed at the end of the hallway.
Oh.
And is just chewing down the hallway. There's a dude in the first room off to the right who's shooting at us through the window. So I've got my shooting buddy pinned. He's taking fire over this shoulder, and he's taking fire down the hallway, and he can't move. He can't do anything. There's like a big railing. We've got all the rest of the guys on, so we're the only three that are stuck on there. We're trying to get this door open. Let me back up. When I placed the charge, I roll back and I look at him and I was like, turning steel. And I turned my head and I blew it. And when I looked back up, he was gone. And I looked down and I saw the hole and I thought he went. And I dropped to my knees and I start going for the door, and my team leader's pulling me back. I guess he had jumped over the wall. I thought he went. And I was not gonna let that fucking dude go alone. I'm on my hands and knees trying to crawl through this fucking hole, and he's pulling me back, like, we're good, we're good. Well, now we can't get out. This thing's been going on for a couple minutes. The guys on the second deck are in the same shitstorm. The guys on the roof are in the exact same thing. Now there's people that are surrounding us we're taking fire from. The whole thing's getting dicey. And we've got to fucking leave. Like, we can't sit here and do this for another 10 more minutes. Like, you're not gonna let us kill this guy, we can. We've got to get out. Unfortunately for us, the only egress route was directly behind us, which is directly in line with that dude's PK. So the only way out is to run straight through his alley. Can't go up and over the walls, there's not enough time, we don't have enough ladders, and there's quite a few guys inside the courtyard. We're trading grenades back and forth with this dude, and it finally comes time. The enemy QRF is upon us, and they're in technicals heading our way. And we gotta fucking go. So, look at the TL, what do you want, man? And he's like, get ready for an RPG. I'm like, oh, fuck. I mean, like, bells already rang, like, we've got shit coming out of our nose, like, we're super concussed. And we ate for the guys that know, I mean, we ate a 1,200 grain ECT from arm's length away.
Jesus.
No ear probe, and we just sent it. I mean, I know what that charge is gonna do. The overpressure is gonna fuck me up, but it's not gonna blow me up. I know what that charge will do and what it won't, and I was confident in it. And we had to send it. There was no other way. I wasn't going to turn around and leave without giving it every bit of effort I could. And I looked back at him and I don't know how the fuck we're gonna get out of here. It's like, get a T-bomb. So my buddy was down in the courtyard. He had the T-bomb because we had to swim in a bunch of this shit. So we had spread loaded a bunch of stuff. So I'd already launched one in, and I looked at him, and we did a real world flea flicker, which is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like, fucking threw it across the doorway, caught it, untaped it, and launched it. But it was funny. It was so funny to see the TL. He's like pushing on the walls. He's like doing the math in his head, like this many square feet, the concussion, this overpressure, what's it gonna do to us? And we launched it. We sent a bunch of rounds down there and basically called for exfil, like, hey, I'm gonna let this thing loose, this overpressure charge, and then when it goes boom, we're all gonna take off and run. And that's what we did. And I'm doing the peekaboo thing. He's shooting. I'm trying to see where he is, and I finally see it. And I've got that T-bomb. Like, you ready? Pull the pin, and I launched the most beautiful toss I've ever had. And when I turned, the overpressure was so bad it blew me off the porch, and we took off at a dead run as fast as we could go. Had a big guy there blow through the gate. We didn't even open the gate. Everybody came up and over. That's how. It was taking too long. We didn't have time to fuck with it. So he shouldered the gate and blew through it. That's how we got out. And that dude never skipped a beat firing that PK. Never.
Wow.
Like, I threw a T-bomb, essentially what I thought, in that dude's lap. Nothing. Continued. I don't know how he didn't shoot us. I don't know how he didn't. Shot one of the recce guys off the ladder, like chewing up the wall that he was on. I mean, fucking crazy. Just the continuous hate that was coming out of the thing. We made it back down. We got a quick head count. We had everybody there. The enemy's massing, and we got to get the fuck out. And the surf was shitty. So the extract platform, long story short, gets rolled over in the surf zone. So now this whole thing, it happens on exfil, just in the confusion and everything else, just trying to get boats in alignment. And I mean, we had dudes get not left out at sea, but basically like, this is such a shit show right now, and it is so fucking dangerous. We're just going to swim as far as we can. We turned on an iris strobe and we just swam. Got picked up by a bunch of exfil platforms and everything else. But in the course of that, essentially the only way to get out is I grabbed a hold of the bow line and I wrapped it around my wrist, and I had them tow me out on a Zodiac. And when they picked up enough speed, the wake, it spun me and it popped my shoulder. So now my arm it's essentially paralyzed. Like, it's not working. It's like, holy fuck. I do the exact same thing and I wrap it up with this one. The same thing. Pow. Like, oh my God. Now I'm treading water. Like, I've got use of my arms, but it feels like it dislocated. Like, it feels strange. An exorbitant amount of pain. We get on a jet ski, round 2, and that thing flips. And because we're straddling it, the way it flipped with such force, it blew out the labia of my right hip and my left hip. So now I'm essentially bobbing like a bag of shit.
Jesus Christ.
So me and my swim buddy, we make it out. We get on there. We do our debrief. They strip us down naked. With all those frags that we ate, everything, none of the frags stuck in us. I mean, we were super concussed. We were fucked up. But you could brush it, and it was like metal shavings everywhere. It was like God came down and just said, "Not today." I mean, it was everywhere. Inside your ears, inside your eyelids, fucking everywhere. I mean, it was the strangest thing. We got back on. We started doing like the TBI reporting. What's your name?
And that's so true, because all the fighters of this generation, I'm talking about guys around my age to younger, are having more TBIs, having more limbs that were shot off or lost from an IED, and of course PTSD, to whereas, some of the soldiers from the Korean and Vietnam Wars, were more Agent Orange, a lot of them in oncology, which is, cancer. So you see the effects of different wars and the different types of, munitions that are being used from war to war. And it's just, yeah, I mean, working with the clients that I had that, had TBI, I mean, just little, like, dark blotches on the brain can really severely impact somebody's life. And you guys, I'm sure, are very well aware of the NFL's protocol on concussions. Having played football for years and boxed, I've only had one concussion my entire life, and it didn't happen from boxing or football. It happened from flying a kite. I'll go in and embarrass myself on this. I was in my teens, and my closest cousin, she had a kite and she couldn't get it flying, so I was like, I'll help you. So I put it together for her and everything, and her and I were really, really close at the time. So we're at the park, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to take off running. I'm like, there's not a lot of trees out here, but if I'm like kind of close to a tree, just let me know, because, it was windy, and I knew this kite would fly, so I'm like, just holler out if I'm going to, if I'm close to a tree. So I'm just running full blast, and like I said, my fat ass back then, I used to be able to move. I'm looking back, like trying to get this kite to go, and then boom, head on into a tree. I'm like, yeah, I think I already fucking got that. And all this side of my face was just all bruised and scraped up. And man, it's a funny story, but and I'm sure you guys are going to want to hear part 3, which I'm going to play, because I'm going to finish this whole episode, not just in one sitting here, but because it's, you still have a couple hours here. So gonna, finish it up here in the net over the weekend. But he talks about those concussions and how bad those concussive blasts affected him. And man, every day at the same time, I would just get this throbbing fucking headache that just, it felt like I was gonna die. I hated it. But no, I hope you guys are finding this interesting. It just kind of gives you an inside look into what these poor guys go through. And yeah. So if you guys are finding it interesting or whatever, feel free to leave me a comment. And yeah, look forward to the next part, and hopefully you guys as well. So I hope you guys have a good remainder of your evening, and until tomorrow, I'm out.